Did anyone notice any changes, any corrections or omissions from it? And if not, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. The first item we have on our new business is a discussion on the library's proposal for a solar system walk to go down on the Walnut Street and out to the end of the dike. Mike, you want to take over with that?
Yeah, so we have with us Christopher Mick from the Hudson Library. And Nate, if you're on the call, if you're able to have Christopher share his screen. He has a couple slides of what they're proposing to put on the Walnut Street Bridge. If that's not possible, he has printouts too.
Give me just 1 second.
Okay. So the Hudson Library contacted staff and they're proposing to do a solar system walk out on the Dike Road as part of kind of some programming that they got going on down at the library. And we told Chris to just come in front of Park Board and kind of present what they're thinking. And before we go ahead and give them the thumbs up, just to get the formal approval here.
Can everybody see that?
It's still coming up.
Okay.
Get down.
All right, there you go. There you go, Chris.
Excellent. Okay, so I'll try to go really quick here. Yeah, as was said, I work at the Hudson Area Library on some of their STEM programming we do for families and children. And the co-directors, Shelley Tugas and Madeline Page, kind of put out a call to the programming staff, being as we're shut down for on-site programming through the end of the year, to try to do some outreach ways of programming, utilizing either Lakefront Park or looking at the Dike area. And so I, doing some research, came across a solar system walk, which I can kind of show here, which is put together. There's several different versions of it. The one that I highlighted is put up by the National Science Foundation, and their website's kind of listed there if anybody wants to see it in greater detail. But the graphics, Tricia Christensen worked this up for me that I can show on this next slide here, are the same material that is kind of for the I Heart Hudson campaign. It's all around Hudson right now. So we wanted to use something that we know is kind of tried and true and that works and that everybody was happy with the look of it. And so those have held up really well so far, how they've been out through all kinds of weather with the displays. So be the same type of graphic material for the putting on the ground. They'd be 3-foot diameter. There'd be 10 graphics for this. You kind of have the 8 planets would be featuring the sun, and then there'd be one kind of introduction graphic on what you're going to be experiencing to kind of explain it. So that's what they would look like, and then they'd each feature kind of the library logo as the organization putting that out, and then they'd have a QR code if people want to get it more information with their smartphone and whatnot. It would take them to like an animation of the solar system and videos, cool. Information on it. It's be a little interactive, and then this is kind of the scale we're talking about. Just really quick, I wasn't going to go into all the detail, but it's kind of taking the real solar system and working it down to the scale where the sun would be about 8 inches in diameter, and then you kind of see the other ones. Then the Mercury is the size of a pinhead, the Earth is a peppercorn, etc., kind of going through it. So that would allow, with the distances involved, that would kind of fit perfectly when I walked it out on the Dike Road there. So starting a little ways after the arch, and I didn't use a measurement wheel, which I should go back for, like a surveyor wheel, you know, to get it exactly. Yeah. I was just walking it off in paces and putting some chalk marks, but it did fit. I kind of got down close to the dumpsters there that are at the end of the road, you know, above the beach, but it did fit going from the sun all the way through Neptune. So if it's approved, we've gotten an estimate already on the graphics for producing them. They can do it pretty quick. They don't have other jobs in front of them. I'm not quite sure how salting and plowing goes out there, but I was thinking they probably would need to come up and then reinstall them, you know, in the spring. But I wasn't quite sure how the snow is handled out there on the Dike Road. So if that is the plan, that's what we would do. We'd install it, take them down, pick a date in November, before it really gets bad, pull everything up, and then look at reinstalling them in spring. So we're going to order 2 sets. And then this is just kind of on a Google Maps, kind of where I was proposing the way I walked it off. Hopefully you can see where the arch sign is there on the overhead. And then where I put the red arrow is kind of where what I walked off would be the information circle, the first one that would kind of tell you what you're in for the rest of the walk. And then they would start spaced out appropriately after that red arrow going down the dike. That, and then I think I just have one more here, and then going down, and this would be the end about where I walked it off to show you where Neptune would be at the end of it, and that's kind of what I had for the layout for it. So if you had any questions on that, that was our proposal that I kind of brought to Madeline and Shelley, and they were really excited about it. And that's when I contacted Deborah about finding out next steps on kind of bringing it to you and trying to move forward.
Well, personally, I think it's a great idea and a good concept to go in down there. Mike, I haven't heard anything that would preclude us from being able to do it. Have you?
No.
Oh, one thing I forgot to say, I did look at, depending on your feedback, I was going to justify it all to the right a little bit, so it kind of hug more the right side of the walking path. I thought that might be better instead of going straight down the middle. Kind of shift it to one side if people didn't want to be walking, over it or around it, stuff like that. But that was the last note I had.
Because how many total circles are there? 9 graphics?
It'd be 10 with the information one, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's such a long walk. It's a lot longer than people realize. 10 graphics on that road is going to be, pretty sparse. So I mean, whether they put in the center or on the right hand side, I mean, I'll leave it up to you, but I have no problems with either.
Do we have a problem of the trolls or anyone like that peeling it off the road or damaging it?
There's always that chance, right? I mean, so far I haven't heard of any graphics being torn off.
Okay.
The ones that the chamber had just put out a couple months ago. People have left them alone for the most part. Like I said, I haven't heard of anything. So, I mean, that's not to say that, of course, it might happen, but just kind of roll the dice, right?
Mm-hmm. So do we have a motion to approve?
I have a question first.
Okay.
I think I really like the idea, and I'm certainly not opposed to it. I just wondered if this would be setting a precedent that we'd have to deal with other people wanting to put things like this down there, and where would we draw the line about what kinds of things? That's the only question I have. What organizations and what other kind of graphics would we allow down there? Because I like.
That's a valid question.
It is.
Yeah, I appreciate that question too. And what I was thinking in the back of my head is, I don't mind doing it, but I'm thinking, why do it in the fall and the spring as well? Why not do it for a contained time period? And then maybe if other groups have other ideas or if there's something other. So Christopher, I don't know what your connection is. I don't know if you're with the school district or NASA or I didn't know your background. So
I'm with the Hudson Library. I also own my own STEM educational nonprofit called Space St. Croix here in Hudson. So I do things with the schools and then this and under my banner of working at the library.
So my thought was just, I love the idea of doing education and distance, like with the planets. I think that's really cool. But I would suggest just doing it once, either in the fall or the spring. But then if the library or if the school district or somebody wanted to come up with some other kind of cool things that you could show too. I'm thinking it's really educational, but it'd be interesting to rotate some things in and out of it. I do appreciate the point of kind of where do you draw the line too, and I think that would be with the park board and probably it's probably going to have to go through Common Council at some point or something, I'm guessing too. So
I don't think we need to worry about that boogeyman now.
Yeah, but I love the idea, and I'm just trying to encourage like thinking about down the road. Maybe we do this in the fall, and then down the road, the library folks or whatnot can come up with another educational concept of some kind. I don't know.
Well, that's up to them. But
right.
They're going to have 2 of them made now. I don't see why we should plan in a time frame to it. As,
And to answer that one point, we're totally fine with a restricted window. We just kind of thought, since we weren't sure exactly when they'd get produced and installed, we were kind of covering ourselves with, if we don't have it out that long due to the weather here in the fall, when it gets installed, that we'd have another set, ready to be installed in the spring in case it wasn't widely known about or able to be used by everybody. But we'd totally be happy with whenever you wanted it, pulled up, or if you wanted it on a tight deployment window.
I like the idea of doing it now for a couple months and then doing it again. I mean, this isn't going to be a very long period by the time winter sets in. So I kind of like the idea of having it up again in the spring.
so do I.
Are the stickers that are down there now, I forget who put those down. Did they get permission? Is there a timetable on that? Or how did that come about?
Yeah, they did get permission. It went through council. Yeah, Chamber of Commerce. It's a program driven by the Chamber of Commerce to kind of help, local businesses get through the COVID pandemic, right? And they're slated to come up here, once winter sets in this fall.
Okay, and again, just using that as I don't know if there's an expiration date on those that would roll, with this program or not or whatever. But yeah, I love the idea, and I guess if other groups, to Paul's point, if other groups want to present something, then I guess they'll have to kind of go through the same channels. And right now we don't have our rule book in front of us, and maybe someday we'll need that. But for now, this is the best deal we've got going.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll say.
Any further discussion that we need before we vote on it?
I guess my only question is, do you guys want to approve it for both the fall and the spring, or would there be some wisdom in just saying, let's approve it in the fall and kind of see how it goes, and we can revisit it later too?
I'd rather personally just see us approve it and let it go without a horizon line on it.
So how long? So Pat, let me ask. So in your mind with that, how long is it on display, so to speak?
Till they choose they want to take it down.
Yeah,
or we have major complaints about it for some reason to have it be removed. But if it's working and it's creating the desired effect of making people better aware and educating, why do we want to see it come down?
Well, my thought is just that it's a public space, and that's always a shared space. And so public spaces in our parks have to be shared by the whole community. So I think it's appropriate to do, but I would not want to approve it without a timeline on it, because then you're essentially giving your public space away for good, which I think.
If it helps at all, just our internal deliberations at the library, we're thinking again, try to get it out as soon as possible, catching the end of summer, beginning of fall here. And then if it deployed again in the spring, we kind of set a target date of June 1st for pulling it all up, because then we thought school would be out and summer would be starting, and we'd have it all pulled out by June 1st.
Or you wouldn't leave it up over the summer?
I was just sharing our internal polling to that point. We were thinking, if we can get it out quick now, get it out as quick as we could, and then we pull it at the beginning of June 1st.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to set a start and a stop date, because the other thing it's going to do is it's when the community sees it, and I think it's going to be well received, it gives other groups an idea of, hey, wouldn't it be cool to do X, Y, or Z? And then it gives them a date when they could, propose it and stuff. So my point is just that it's a shared space, and I think it needs to be open to different community groups. And that's why I would like to see some kind of a schedule for when it starts and when it stops.
Yeah, and I respect that, Paul. I can adjust my motion to either be, I guess, removed or re-examined June 1. I think these things will have some wear and tear to them, so we might be surprised if there's a lot of traffic. These things might need to be ripped up, sooner than later. So that's a good point.
Or they could be underwater for a good part of May.
Yeah. So motion to approve with an end date of June 1st or sooner.
An end date or a review date?
I think end date.
Just looking for clarification on which it is, that's
Yeah.
all. An end date of June 1st,
June 1, 2021.
that's the motion. And the second degree to that?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
So it's immediately like through the end of, well, through June 1st, 2021.
Correct.
But there's gonna remove them November before,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. Is there anything else that you or the Fifths need from us in advance of it going in?
Not on my end. I think I'll take this back to Shelley and Madeline and let them know your feedback and see about getting it into production as soon as we can.
So
Okay.
For clarification,
Chris,
just for
Yeah.
clarification, I think, does this have to go to common council first for final approval?
this will be on the council agenda on the 8th, yes, for final approval.
So you might want to just wait till that vote to go forward with the sticker, so to speak.
That's
Thank
probably
you,
why.
Chris. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. It's a good project. Next item on our agenda, item B, is the relocation of capital for improvements at Burton Park for the playground.
Yeah, so in the CIP, obviously there's been some various upgrades to Burton Park. We're moving forward with the permanent skating rink. We're looking to move that baseball field in the adjacent corner that we discussed at the previous meetings. One of the other items that was in the CIP was the playground surface, upgrading it. Currently, it's wood mulch, and there is a proposal to do some poured in place rubber, similar to what's at White Camp Park. It's it's maintenance free. It's looks a lot nicer right in the playground, and we get a lot of good compliments from the users of the park for that type of surface. So we would look to do something similar in Burton Park. Obviously, what was allocated in the CIP was only $30,000. A couple of years ago, city staff had reached out to a company that did this type of service, and they got a quote of $94,000. So we're short. Included in that quote was some of the groundwork, which we can do in house, which basically would reduce the cost of the poured in place rubber to just installing the poured in place rubber, which was like $75,000. So what I'm bringing forward tonight is a discussion and possible action on basically reallocating the other CIP funding amenities that were going to be funded by the CIP for Burton Park, which included the landscaping, the LED light upgrades, and basically take those two items and reallocate it towards the purchase of the poured in place rubber surface for the playground there.
Okay. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Seems like a good idea to me.
Yeah, it's one of our newer, other than White Camp Park, it's the newest playground that we have in the city. So, I mean, the longevity of this playground is going to be there for the next, 20 to 25 years. And that's kind of the longevity of that poured in place rubber. So if we were to go ahead and do this, I have go out for bid this fall and then with a spring installation in 2021. But once we do that, I mean, other than, playground inspections and fixing some of the units that get broken over time, we really don't have to touch this playground as staff. We don't have to purchase the wood chips in the future. We're going to pour a sidewalk around it, make it look nice and clean. It'll just look aesthetically appealing, especially with all the other upgrades. And as far as the landscape, we can certainly take trees from our gravel bed nursery and plant them throughout the park type of thing. So, I mean, there's other options. And as far as the LED lighting, maybe we can squeeze it into a future operating budget to do some upgrades to the LED lighting or some grant programs to Excel Energy. So we just saw this as an opportunity to kind of pool our monies for Burton Park, finish that corner playground off, and not have to worry about it for the next 20, 25 years.
That would be nice. Is there a motion to approve?
I have a question for Mike first. So With
Yep.
the light, with the lighting, will it still be, so for the ice rink there in the winter, will that still have lighting? You're just talking about like the upgrades?
Yeah, the upgrades to the overhead lights for the baseball diamonds. Yeah,
But the rinks would basically be lit is what I'm trying to ask, so.
yeah, yep. We would make sure they're lit.
Is there a motion to approve?
And one last question, Mike, what's the
Mhm.
difference between the cost on the rubber versus the chip stuff you were talking about?
So the wood mulch, we fill that in every other year. There's a certain depth of mulch, and typically it's a certain type of mulch. It's not like you can just go out to the landscape yard and go grab mulch from there. It's called engineered wood fiber, which is fancy for more expensive. It's a certain grade, a certain type, and it'll run us $1,000 to $1,500 every other year to install that.
And then it gets in the mowers.
Yeah, kids throw it in the grass and it decomposes over time, and it'll rot. So in typically around the 10-year mark, we have to go in there and basically clear it all out and put all new back in because it decomposes over time. And it's just it's that ongoing maintenance. It's the staff time to install it and reinstall it and reinstall it.
So I get it. And then can you remind me, what was the rubber, what was the cost of the installation for the new rubber?
Yeah, so the staff had gotten a quote, like I said, 2016, and just for the rubber, it was $76,000. Now, obviously, we would go out to public bid, and I would hope that we would get, something similar to that price a couple of years later. If we were to pool the, miscellaneous capital items that we have remaining in the CIP, along with the landscape, the LED, and then the playground surface money that we had set aside for that, in the CIP for that area, we have $72,350. So we're close.
You're pretty close. Okay, that's
yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, I think too with COVID and things like that, this might be a more, I'll just call it a sanitary surface.
Yeah.
Who knows if we want to pressure wash or power wash or whatever the playground equipment, this can be included in that. So I think it's a good move. So
Yeah.
Go ahead and move to approve, Pat.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion necessary? If not, the chair will call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried. I think it's going to be a good addition, Mike.
Yeah, it's going to look nice. And I mean, obviously this will go to council for final approval, but yeah, it's going to look fantastic. I know White Camp Park, we get tons of compliments with the users out there. And like Mike said, it's just easier to keep clean, and the maintenance aspect is just, it's a night and day difference. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Item C on our new business is discussion and possible action on our policy for COVID-19 in the parks. Mike, you want to give the background on that?
Yeah, so obviously we've had a lot of events come through this summer. A lot of people and organizations are trying to get outside and use public spaces. And up to this point, all the events have been going in front of council for discussion and approval. And it's become kind of overwhelming for them. I think at the last meeting, there was like 7 or 8 different events on there. And, moving forward, we wanted our Aaron Reeves, the city administrator, suggested creating a policy that we can attach to our current reservations. And then staff can review the plans administratively and approve them administratively. So Aaron suggested we, develop this. He took a stab at it, and it's fairly simple. It's basically following, the current standards from the CDC, the state, and St. Croix County and City of Hudson. He on the addendum that would be included in the park reservations would be, the links to those sites. Users would have to go and visit those sites, submit a plan that staff would review internally to make sure that they're complying with all the current standards, and then it wouldn't have to go to council. It would just be improved internally by staff.
And as I take it, this is also part of our hold harmless as a city, that we're making everyone who's using the facilities aware of what they should be doing for safety.
Yep, correct.
So that
And
now we
did,
have a firm policy.
yeah, and we had Kathy just glance at it just to make sure everything is kosher, and you know, she signed off on it. Obviously, the main reason is to try to bring the approvals back in and do it administratively instead of having council review each event that comes through. I mean, we get, you know, 20, 30, up to 50 events throughout the summer, and for them to review and approve every single one just, you know, in the future isn't feasible. We're not only looking for, you know, we're almost winding down this fall, but we're looking forward to next spring when things start ramping up again. So
I think it's a good idea, Mike. Do you know, I haven't seen that document.
okay.
You know, some of the specifics that are being asked for that sort of
Yeah.
process?
So I'll just read it real quick. I mean, it's fairly brief. It just says it's this COVID policy is an addendum to our city park facilities for all rentals other than performances sponsored by the city of Hudson. All approved applications will have to do the following. It says follow current CDC, state of Wisconsin, St. Croix County, city of Hudson COVID guidelines. And then we have a list of where those guidelines can be found. And then requires all attendees to wear face coverings per the current state of Wisconsin emergency order number 1 or subsequent state or local face covering requirements. Then the last thing it has is enforce social distancing of at least 6 feet between all non-family member attendees. And then at the disclaimer at the bottom, it says any violation of the above requirements can result in the immediate stopping of the event by city staff.
That sounds good. The only other thought, and this has come up a lot in council, but for contact tracing, to have like a sign in, I don't know if that's part of what Aaron's thinking, but I think it'd be worth saying for a public event, if you can sign in and leave a phone, something like that, or an email, just because then if they do have to do contact tracing, the county and the organization or the city, I don't know who takes that at the end, would have a chance to get that back or something.
If you want to add that to the policy.
Specifically spell it out, yeah.
I think it'd be good just because council's been asking for that a lot. And so if it's in the policy, then the folks
Then it's there.
forward, yeah.
Yeah, good
Okay.
suggestion.
And
Because
I
we're
have
asking for their compliance.
I just have a couple of questions. As far as I know, the current guideline really is that for outdoor, it has to be limited to 50 people. Now that I saw was the St. Croix County recommendation but isn't that also what you've been applying as park board? That if they're going to be in the park, it has to be limited to 50? Is that what you're still applying? Or
Yeah.
not? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
So at the council level, they have been trying to stay to as close to 50 people as possible for any event that is approved. Yeah.
Okay.
But I
Then my
think,
other question, the word rent. What if they just, I mean, when are they renting? I know you rent the band shell, but if you just wanted to have something in one of the other parks, you're not renting, are you?
No.
So this would
I mean,
this would pertain to special events where people are, you know, organizations are coming to the city and, you know, they want to do like church gatherings, right? We've had a lot of church requests for outdoor services, and so this would apply to that. Now, as far as like people just renting pavilions for a birthday party or an anniversary, that type of thing, Deb and I have been reviewing those and approving them internally. And a lot of times, like I said, we're telling them to stay under the 50 and they're complying with that. We haven't really had any issues with people not complying up to this point. So this would kind of pertain to, you know, more of the special events.
Okay.
It says there that violation could result in immediate stopping by city staff. Is that?
You're frozen, Mike.
Yeah.
Yep.
But to answer your question, while his leg catches up, I guess what I envision happening is, you know, if we get a phone call or, you know, that an event has, let's just say 200 people down at Lakefront Park, it would be probably handled by the police department, I would assume. That's what I envision. I'm not going to send down a seasonal employee to break up an event that's happening.
Right.
And they're going to have to, I mean, when they're filling out their application, they're going to have to spell out how they're going to comply. And we'll definitely reassure to them that, you know, we're serious about, you know, complying with the state orders, and that anything over that amount, we are going to, you know, request or require that you know, stop the event.
Yeah.
We need a motion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Someone want to make the motion and second it?
Yeah, I'll
Sure.
make a motion to approve the park department COVID amendment addendum, I guess it is.
Okay.
Mhm.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any further discussion necessary? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Hold on a second,
Go ahead,
Pat.
Paul.
Did we get the, is this including the,
Contact tracing.
yeah, the sign in? Is that part of the,
We'll make that notation. Yeah, we'll make that addition, Paul.
Mike, is that what you were thinking? The
In my motion, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just make sure.
Yeah, and I also think these links, Paul, it doesn't seem like you've got a copy of this. I'm
Right.
assuming these links might kind of be updated as the state changes or the county changes or Hudson changes. So we're sort of referencing policies that might be fluid as we go through the summer.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was done on purpose because Aaron's like, we could list out, you know, all the requirements now, while you know, and I know in a month it might change, right? So this is almost just reference the links, and you know, they're constantly updating everything.
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Aye. Motion carried. I think that'll be a good addition, Mike. You'll take that to council now?
Yep.
Okay. The next item we have is old business. Mike, you want to go through the lease on the
Yep.
sailing school?
Yep. So St. Croix Sailing School reached out to the city of Hudson again, and they're looking to lease space at the Buckeye garage, which is on 18 Buckeye Street, to store their dinghies over the wintertime. They did this last year. They took up 2 bays in the garage, and they were able to fit a number of units in there. And they're looking to do the same thing over the wintertime this year. It's a convenient location for them. It's right next to where they have their operations. Now that most of our operations are out of there, there is room in there. We use a facility over the wintertime to maybe work on some picnic tables, or house some plowing equipment, or some smaller plowing equipment to do the park. But for the most part, the building stays vacant. So
Breaking up.
You're talking.
With the new dates, they're looking to get in there, you know, at the end of the season. Did I lose everybody?
Yep.
No, you're
Yeah.
back.
All right,
You're
I'm
back
back.
now.
All right, I'm back. Back and better than ever. So they're looking to get in there December 1st. Obviously, I have no problem if they want to go in there a week or two earlier before Thanksgiving, before it gets really cold. And then the lease would run through April 1st, 2021. This year, we were able to, with the high water, you know, they weren't able to start their classes as quickly as they would have liked to. So they were able, I basically gave them permission to keep them in there. I think it was mid to late May by the time they got their dinghies out of there. But like I said, we have moved operations out of there, so I have no problem recommending approval of this lease again. And I think there is representation. I think Justin's here from St. Croix Sailing School. Yeah, if you have anything to add, if I missed, or feel free.
No, there was another issue, the Buckeye garage over the winter, but then I think our yearly lease is up on the park as well. And we had discussed trying to get a 3-year lease set up if everything had went well for the previous 2 years of leasing that we wanted to discuss as well. Buckeye Garage would be great until you guys, have a better use for it over the winter. If we could store, it's very convenient, works out great, keeps our equipment in a lot better shape having it indoors than us having it outside for clean and also for freezing the fiberglass or breaking any parts. So we'd really appreciate the opportunity to do that again.
We've had no complaints about it in the past.
I have a question in the actual lease. If I may ask, in the actual lease, we're allowing them to place 2 sheds on the property. Is that new?
No, they're there.
Oh, they're there now?
Mm-hmm. They're over in it'd be the southeast corner.
Okay, so they're not only getting the 2 bays in the garage, but they're getting the ability to have 2 sheds as well.
Well, they've always had the ability to have the 2 sheds there.
Okay.
And this is just giving them the ability to use the garage over the winter. Am I
Okay.
correct, Mike?
Yes. So this lease, the lease agreement that was in the packet, this is for use of the premises. So the city has 2 lease agreements with the St. Croix Sailing School. The first lease agreement, the original lease agreement, was for use of the south end of Lakefront Park, better known as Picnic Point, okay? And that's what this lease agreement is referencing that's in the park packet. What's on the agenda right now is the lease agreement for Buckeye Garage. So I think maybe what I would suggest is, and Justin, if you're okay with this, I would suggest tabling this or postponing the vote, and we'll clarify and put everything on next month's agenda for review and approval, which would include the actual lease of the space that you guys use in the summertime, which includes the 2 sheds that you're referencing, Karen, and then also the lease agreement for Buckeye Garage.
I'm 100% okay with that. And to give a little operational background on it, we have a tool shed that we keep supplies in, our computer in, our file cabinet, sales, and so on and so forth. And then the second structure is actually sort of a storage rack for the smaller boats that we call opties. We have 13 of those, and I believe 11 or 12 of those fit into the racks. And in the wintertime, we put plastic that they cover the large boats with at the marina. We put that over to protect those boats. Then we have 13 Club 420 boats, which are the larger 2-person dinghies that sit in the park in the summertime. Those Club 420s are the ones that we stored in Buckeye Garage last year to keep them out of the weather. Now, the tool shed would only hold 1 of our Club 420s if we put 1 boat in there. And typically we put things like our moorings in there, mooring balls, our marks for the racing, and the dinghies that we use for our J22 boats that are larger and they're out in the mooring field. So that's just a little operational background. And yeah, if we go, I'll be more than happy to come back next week and work with you. I can work with you through the month too, if any questions or if you need a written operational background or something like that too, just reach out and let me know, and I'd be more than happy to get that to you.
All right.
So we're right then, that'll be tabled until the next meeting?
That's what I recommend, Pat.
Okay. Do we need to vote on that? Or as a formal motion?
I would motion the table.
Okay,
Second.
it's motion and seconded to table this till next month's meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
And the last item we have, Michael, if I can find it again.
Yeah, it's just discussion and possible action on the 2021-2030 capital improvement plan.
Yes.
Yeah, so I did go ahead, per the recommendation of the park board, I did remove the splash pad from 2022, and I put that back to year 2027. And then based upon some of the discussion that we had at the last month's meeting, I included some funding for pickleball in 2022 to either, spark initial funding for that project or funding for an addition to courts that have already been installed based upon what the Hudson Pickleball Association has raised and built. I did include pricing on all the projects on the far right-hand column, amount, funding source. I didn't include it in the actual year, but as I was thinking about it, we're going to review this document every 2 years as part of the bonding cycle anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So we're able to make, some adjustments, on a, every other year basically. And we're able to move some of these projects around and include some of the smaller items in a given year. So I didn't want to include them all right away and really increase the totals of every year. So I kind of left it as it was originally, but I just included all the costs so that in the future, if we want to, if there's a project that comes up and we want to add it to a given year, we kind of know the price and we can just pile it right in. So yeah, I guess open for any discussion. And if it looks okay, I guess I'd look for a motion tonight from the board to include this in the outdoor rec plan. And like I said, we'll be reviewing it all the time. So
Chair will entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll move to approve.
Okay. Kathy's moved. Is there a second?
Second. Can I do a second?
Any further discussion or questions that anybody has regarding it?
Yeah, my only question, Mike, I like what you did with the pickleball piece. I think that's great. I like that you rearranged some things. I think that's good. I would just personally like to see the splash pad a whole lot sooner than 2027. But I don't have a problem with, moving forward today. But then I think I'd love to revisit that. And part of it is with the COVID stuff we talked about last time, which I get. And part of it's with the funding stuff, which we don't know because of COVID too. So I'm just saying that I think as a community priority, I just feel like the feedback I know from people that they're going to want that splash pad sooner rather than later.
yeah,
And it's a big ticket item.
yeah, it is.
So
yeah, it'd be popular.
Yeah, I'm just saying
is.
if we revisit it, not as it's in 2027 in the document, but I would hate it to stay there. I'd like to move it forward. But I for tonight's purposes, I don't think we need to talk about that. So just want you guys to know what I'm thinking. So
I think you're right, Paul.
And for a board perspective, city council is going to start talking about budgets here for the next month and a half, and I just want to have the board be comfortable with what's being proposed in 2021 and 2022, just because those are the projects that I'm going to bring forward to council for bonding.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, we'll be doing this all over again in 2023. And Paul, to your point, I mean, that's an opportunity if COVID is gone and everything is kind of back to quote unquote normal, I mean, we can certainly move that project up and swap around some restroom or playground upgrades, so on and so forth. But my main reason of getting this approved tonight is just for the bonding purposes for the next 2 years.
And I'm supportive of that. I get that. So I'm totally on with what you did for 2020, the next couple of years. So yep.
Perfect.
The chair will call the question. Any further discussion necessary? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Mike, you have anything else that you want to
Yeah.
bring
So
forward now?
yeah, project updates and communications items for future agendas. Obviously, we have the tabled item tonight. I'm going to be bringing forward some some language. We're having some issues with scheduling of fields up at Grandview Park, and I'm looking to, right now, we don't charge for practices up there, field time for practice use. We only charge for games and tournaments. And I think it's a good idea to start to, look at charging for all field use up there, whether it's practice, whether it's games, whether it's tournaments. And so I'll be bringing that forward to a future agenda for discussion. And then as far as like project updates, the masonry guys started the block work on the restroom up at Grandview Park. So from what I understand, they're still slated to finish that project this fall. And then we've run into some issues with staffing. Pretty much all of our staff, our seasonal staff has left for the season. And so we're not taking any more reservations in the pavilions for the month of September and October, just because we don't have anybody to come in and clean them and post a reservation, so on and so forth. If we were to continue to, you'd be amazed at how many phone calls we get a day for reservations, but we would almost have to bring in full timers and pay them overtime over the weekend to come in and clean. And it's just not a road that I'm willing to go down right now. So just to let the board know, we do have a couple here and there, some uses at the lakefront band shell, couple in White Camp, couple in Prospect. I've told our Kevin Soltis, our public works supervisor, said if he's in a bind, I'd be willing to come in and help on a weekend, so on and so forth. So it's gotten down there. So I just want to let the board know that. And I think that's pretty much it. All I got for project updates.
Have you had any feedback, Mike, at all from people about the memorial policy in the park?
So, we talked about last month's meeting. I haven't had anybody reach out to me. I'm still, it's not on this month's meeting agenda just because I just haven't had time to put into it. To be honest, we got a lot of projects wrapping up, so on and so forth. So I'll probably bring that back probably October, November for review, and we'll try and get something squared away before the next spring. But like I said, I want to get locations and so on and so forth and bring the whole packet back for park board to review and then bring it to council for final. But I haven't gotten any feedback outside of park board up to this point.
Mm-hmm. I have no other questions regarding it. Anybody have anything for future items that we need to get on the future agenda? Hearing none.
Like, are we good with I'm taking winter coming up, so just with for street maintenance and plows and salt and all that, like are we good with like our supplies, so to speak, with some of that
supplies we're good with. We actually posted an ad last week for some more seasonal part-time help, and we'll continue to advertise for seasonal help when winter rolls around to help plow our trails and sidewalks and parks, so on and so forth. So we're always looking for help in those areas now.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Have a